Hello, my name is Katya Venter, and I'm a visual artist, a storyteller, and an art educator. I've lived in Townsville for the past 7 years, and I love it here. My family is originally from Russia. We immigrated to South Africa in the 1990s. I also lived in Mozambique, in Singapore, and in New Zealand. I started making art at school. One of my early memories is, funny enough, being chastised by the teacher who said that I didn't draw the house the right way. So since then I don't draw houses. To fix that, my parents enrolled me into art school, where I started my formal education, quite early years, still during school years. Another memory I have from making art in school was cutting paper snowflakes. In Russia, with a lot of snow, cutting paper snowflakes to decorate windows is one of the pastime activities you do at school and at home. It is fun. That's my earliest experience folding and cutting paper into snowflakes. When we moved to South Africa in the 90s, I started studying multimedia degree. I wasn't sure what I wanted to study, whether it was visual arts, programming, and I tried all sorts. And I ended up completing bachelor's degree in multimedia. I worked with traditional media, with paper, drawing, as well as digital. 3D modeling, I learned Photoshop and digital design. I also completed Masters in Art History through University of South Africa. As many other artists, I'm interested in a wide range of stuff. One of my latest interests is the other, oddities and human oddities. I'm interested in anatomical illustrations and in the place of the other within our community. I'm interested in the concept of Wunderkammer because it displays the other in an affectionate, curious way. Such as during my travels in Europe, I've seen a lot of strange things in the shop, such as rabbits with antlers and images and prints of different specimens. And so in my work, in my body of work, I explore how I can transform the objects of repulsion, of horror, into the object of curiosity. So Alice in Wonderland is one of my favorite books. I used to drive a lot. So in my car, I would put my iPod on audiobook Alice in Wonderland. And I've listened to it so many times, I now know it by heart. Also, storytelling is part of my upbringing. My grandfather and my parents used to tell me a lot of fairy tales. So storytelling, images and characters are part of my upbringing. It's part of what I grew up with. They always live in my head and in my imagination. So here's my Wunderkammer. The process I start with is I buy a journal, visual journal, and I start journal where I put my ideas down, scribbling notes, photocopies, and I start collaging things and trying different media. That's the beginning. And then it starts to expand and grow. The process itself is very fluid because it doesn't always go as planned, which is the fun way and the exciting way for me. So it allows me to grow and it allows me to feel very free. So once I've realized that I have to now step away from my workbook, I wasn't sure where to begin in terms of scale. So when it came to making larger artwork, I thought to myself, where do I begin? How large do I go? And what do I use? And then I thought to myself, wow, I have this big paper roll of Fabriana paper. It comes in 10 meters long, and I unrolled it on my rubber mat, and I stepped my legs wide over it, and I took a paintbrush, and I thought to myself, I'm just going to go for it. And I went. So I started sketching with my paintbrush. And then hours went by, and I realized that my back was killing me, but one of the babies was born. And one of those babies is the neon baby pig. Then, in my true style, I took scalpel and I cut it out because I like cutting my paper. And that's how I decided on a scale. But I didn't want to go square on the wall. I wanted my characters to create a dialogue, to be alive, to talk to each other. And this way, they had to step out of square format and take a life and shape of its own. that was that. For this body of work, I decided to introduce a new material. In the past, I worked with Perspex once. So this time when I introduced it, I wasn't sure to go for color or to go for clear. And I've decided to choose this material because I like its quality. You can see through it, it colors, and it's very crisp. It has some kind of unusual quality, not just of plastic, but of crispiness, almost like paper. And what I do like about it as well is that I can use a heat gun and manipulate it pretty much like I would do with my hands when I fold my paper. So the process began like this. I chose colors at first, and then I photographed my drawings, baby drawings that were done on paper, and I imported them and I started drawing digitally. After drawing digitally in Illustrator, I created outlines, and then that was sent to the laser cutters. The technique of laser cutting uses a specific laser to cut through nice and neat. After it's been cut, I took the shapes home and I suspended them in the shower using metal hooks, and I started working with my heat gun to extract, extrude, and manipulate certain areas. The drawings on black paper are my echo and reflection on the previous work I've done last year. 2020 was a strange year where COVID happened, and it kind of caught us unexpectedly. And in my case, I've just installed this work in the glass case of the gallery, and the gallery closed its doors 2 days later or the next day. So I don't think anyone got to see it, or there were limited numbers of people that got to see it. So these drawings are my two-dimensional versions of three-dimensional drawings that I did in 3D pen last year. 3D sculptures that I did last year using 3D pen are slowly deteriorating. The plastic, the filament that's used is very fragile. So at this stage, some shapes and some figures survived, but others didn't. They just started to perish and quite literally collapse on each other. So in my reflection between 3D pen, drawings on paper, and Perspex, this interplay between different materials in a race who's going to survive and stay the longest. In my studio, I can't live without silence, peace, and podcasts. I have a lot of paper, I have a lot of pencils, and I can get by, but I can't live without podcasts, internet, and silence at the same time. Translate it any way you want, but I like silence and podcasting at the same time. It's almost like that storytelling comes through. And I find that's kind of grew up with me, it followed me. I think the best piece of advice, professional advice, I was given about courage. I was told by my teacher, my mentor, and my lifelong supporter that it takes courage to present something unconventional. And she always used to tell me, Katya, you have to be confident in your difference, and you have to be confident in your otherness. So I think my piece of advice to tell others is just to be confident, to find what inspires you, and to go for it with full strength, no halfways. Just go for it, bam! All in. After installing this exhibition, the day before the launch, I got very scared and I realized, what if? I think many artists can relate to whether their work is going to be accepted and how will audiences react to it. And then I thought to myself, but stop, wait. This is not about you, this is about your babies. These are about these creatures that you've created. You've invested time, a lot of ideas and hard work, and you've positioned them in this place. And now they live here. So you are coming to support your work and not yourself. It's about my creations. It's about my monster babies. I guess I always give personality to my work, and for me it's always alive. So selling it, it's like giving it away to a new house, giving it another life. Last year, 2020, was a strange year. It was full of creative opportunities I found, and living in North Queensland, I felt very good because our restrictions were They were not as strict, and it was very good to still have access to the beach, to nature, and to still feel, you know, inspired and free to walk around and to pretty much do what you wanted to do outside. So it was very good. I think it was a very good outcome creatively as well. And I was privileged to have this level of support from Townsville galleries, who created some opportunities for artists. For me, I participated in a few creative projects, and it was very good. I feel very blessed to have worked. Last year turned out well for me creatively. I would like to thank friends and family for their continuing support, creative support and personal, that they've been offering to me throughout these years and my creative adventures and journeys. As well as, I would like to thank Kate, who wrote a wonderful essay about my work. Very reflective, very insightful. Thank you.